Hello. Okay, I've pinned the book name. I got this book a few years ago. How are you guys? So today we had a very lovely chat with Lorraine Serote for her Kiddies Corner. Hello Adelaide. Hello Simole. So I was saying, we had a very lovely chat with Lorraine Serote of Bookwormers Book Club. Let me turn the camera around. Hello Ayetu, how are you? How are you guys doing? I hope everything is fine and everybody is safe. Sure, we're hoping that we come out of this before time for Abantu so we can see the Ayetu family. I see you guys. Thank you so much. Hello, everybody. Hi, Cebu. So, today I'm dressed up a bit. See? Well, I was dressed like this and then I took a nap and yeah, I don't want to take this off now. So, let me see if I can shift this camera. Okay, yeah, great. Hello, Madichaba. Hi, Mabaeng. So today's discussion with Lorraine Serote is on Lorraine's Instagram TV. It's at Serote_Lorraine. I have tagged her on the stories with and I think I tagged her on the current picture on my timeline. So check that out. We were talking about all things kids reading and kiddies books, and we were exchanging all the books that she has had for her youngest, Langa, and yeah, Mo was telling us about the stories that he's actually writing. So Mo has written two books. So yeah, that's about it about that earlier on today. I'm going to read Mongane Wally Serote's profile, but not this one that's on the book, because this is a 2010 book. 2010-2011, I think this is a second edition. Yeah, second impression. But it was released in 2010. So I'm going to read the one I see online. And then I'll read the about the book. And today I thought I could read a book by a male author. Friend. Thank you. I dressed up. I honor meetings, and I get the pyjama mufasi and then big di topo moon or one the top of the shop. So yes. Thank you, my friend. Okay, so Mongane Wally Serote was born in 1944 and is a South African poet and writer. He became involved in political resistance to the apartheid government by joining the African National Congress, and in 1969 was arrested and detained for several months without trial. He subsequently spent years in exile, working in Botswana and later London, England, for the ANC in their Arts and Culture Department, before eventually returning to South Africa in 1990. He was inaugurated as South Africa's National Poet Laureate in 2018 at the time of Ntate Kgositsile's passing. So yes, this is the book that I'm reading today. I've had this book, I don't even have a date on it, but I think I bought it in 2011 at Exclusive Books Cresta. Hey, oh yes, I used to live in Randburg, so Cresta was my mall. But yeah, I've covered this up even like hey. So I never read it. I don't even know why. And there's a lot of I don't know why I don't know what made me buy this. And 2011 was a very weird year. Like I said the other day when I was reading Yvonne Vera's book, that I'm so surprised that there were moments in 2011 where I was buying books. Because, like, hey, I feel like 2011 was my recession, even though 2008 was a recession. But anyway, hey, Miss Weiner. So, Revelations by Mongane Wally Serote. I see the shout-outs on the book. Is it shout-outs or not blurbs? No, the shout-outs at the back and in the front. One is from Don Makatile, the book written in the unmistakable prose of a poet is a story of life after Uhuru and told with that fine touch Serote has come to make his trademark. The other reason why I decided to read a book by Ntate Serote is because the Chickenators had a chat with Lebo Mashile, and yeah, she was talking about Ntate Kgositsile and she was referring to Ntate Serote as well. So I think that's the other reason. You must also check out that discussion on, I think there's 2 videos on the Chickenators IGTV. Serote's questioning of the nature of democracy and the uncertain place it brought them makes his own book of Revelations a work of depth and great concentration, says Maureen Isaacson of the Sunday Independent. And I see here Moses Muziti, who used to work at the New Age. Remember the New Age, guys? Mongane Wally Serote's new book is All Things Revealed: Romance, Friendships, Traditions, History, Mystique, the Struggle for Freedom, Democracy, and Life in General. Revelations is one book you have to read. It is a gem of a story that reads like poetry in motion. This week you are taking out the big guns. Oh, Miss Weiner. Well, I wish I was reading these big guns. I need time. I really need time. And on Wikipedia, they haven't actually added this book under his writings. So I wonder, how do people actually contribute to the accuracy? I know Bridge Books in the CBD was having a workshop where I actually must ask Griffith about that, because they were having a workshop about trying to get people to add on to Wikipedia, but for Africans, like contributing on Wikipedia, but updating things about African characters and people of interest. So yeah, okay, so Revelations, let's see. Revelations is a powerful and stirring study of post-liberation South Africa by the acclaimed author of To Every Birth Its Blood and Scatter the Ashes and Go. Scatter the Ashes and Go was released in 2002, and it's a work of fiction. So he's got 4 books of fiction that I know of. But yeah. The returned painter Brashobe wonders if winning political freedom has been enough. Serote's revelatory novel follows Brashobe, his friends, his comrades, and his family, as together they review the past and, with the ancestors' assistance, consider the future. So Brashobe had insisted on holding his exhibition at the Catholic Community Hall in Gweru. We stayed at the Fairmile Hotel, again at his insistence, Although it was 10 kilometers from the Guinea-Fowl Air Force Base and the Hoa Maximum Security Prison, institutions where the issues of the past were alive in the warm sunshine of that beautiful country. So Ntate Serote has been a CEO of the Freedom Park, and for many years he was a member of parliament and chairman of the Portfolio Committee for Arts, Culture, Language, Science and Technology. So yeah, I think if you watch that video, the one of Lebo Mashile on the Chicken Natives, there's so much history in just that video. Sure, guys. So yeah, that is today's book. I'm gonna read until 1725. But yes, thank you for those who have stayed for the past 10 minutes. Okay, chapter 1. Brashope told me that his ex-wife had left their home more than a dozen times before they parted forever. Tears welled in his eyes as he said this. If a person could give themselves to another, he said, he felt he'd done so. He'd given his body, his spirit, and his mind, whatever they're worth, to Tembile. Sometime early in our friendship, we were in Maputo when for some reason he decided to relate this to me. She too, he said, felt she'd given her everything. They'd given the best of themselves to their relationship. What had hurt him most, Brashope said, was when a sense of slipping away took over between them. Hour by hour, day by day, week by week, he and Tembile drifted, slid apart, and he felt helpless as it happened. The more he tried to stop the trend, the more it escalated. The more he stood by and watched, the more apparent it became that he was helpless to reverse the situation. These thoughts about his past life with his wife were preempted, I think, by our visit to the home of Dambuza, one of Africa's best painters and sculptors, with whom Brashope had grown extremely warm. I'd never witnessed him laughing so much as we relished prawns, beans, rice, pawpaws, and pineapples, gradually becoming soaked in brandy. Dambuza's wife, Olga, was an extremely beautiful African woman, anchored in tradition but also steeped in the 21st century. Hey, Nikki! She spoke fluently and with great ease in Tsonga, isiZulu, Portuguese, and English, using the languages interchangeably depending on whom she was speaking to. With us were Vivian from South Africa, who'd arranged this Maputo visit and exhibition, and two other young painters, a woman and a man, the helpers Gebuza and Dolce. They came in and out, bringing this or that, mingling, extricating themselves, watching, integrating here, whispering to Olga, smiling, pouring drinks and sitting down to eat, obviously listening and curious, yet also detached and polite. It was an intimate moment in a home that was firmly in Olga's grip, but where her husband presided and was obviously cherished. When we returned to our hotel, Brashope found a way to stall me in the foyer. A most pleasant night, he said, an unforgettable night. We sat on the veranda, the sea hissing and roaring very close to us. No man or woman, he suddenly said, human as they are, should ever think they can control another or tell them what to do. No, that's the stuff of the military or the witches and wizards. No one on earth was born to be controlled. No one. Do you hear what I'm saying, Utsile? I do. Do you? Are you going to give me an order now? He laughed and pointed at me, throwing his head back and flipping his hat. Yes, I'm going to give you an order, because if you don't know what your grandfather or great-grandfather have said and done, where they come from, the why and the how, and I'm their peer, so I can tell you then, my son, how will you know which door not to open or which to close? Okay, I'm ready for your order, I said. Then let me tell you what the big problem was between me and Tembile. She was a beautiful person, very loving, but we fought. In a sense, Brashope was talking about something I already knew, yet knew nothing of. There was a long silence. We were both masters at the same time, he said finally. How do you mean? I mean, there was no follower. Neither one could remain a follower forever. But why in a love relationship should one be a follower and the other master? It's about how the one who turns out to be the master handles their responsibility. Where is Aunt Tembile now? Out in the world, somewhere far away, I don't know. Now and then I think about her and wonder whether she ever thinks of me, but don't let me speak of Tembile with you. Brashope was at ease, tipsy but not drunk, relaxed as a leopard on a sofa. He held his glass of whiskey in his hand for a long time. Dambuza and Olga had touched something in him. We spent 4 days in the gallery in Maputo while Brashope was arranging the many small pieces he'd made with his hands. Mating dogs, a peeing rhino, a one-eyed lion, a three-legged leopard chasing a springbok, a monkey searching her young for ticks as she danged it by the tail. They were fashioned of wood, clay, stone, iron, beads, paper mache, wire. Some were mere suggestions. I stayed with him in the gallery. At times we had maheu for supper. At other times, homemade ginger beer and buns or fruit. I shot many portraits of him during those 4 days and nights. I was less interested in the pieces. I felt I'd come here for other reasons and I was cynical. Somehow I felt myself rebelling against his lie. He hadn't come here to exhibit. He was merely curious about Maputo and had seized the opportunity when he was asked to exhibit. Yet when I looked back before we left the gallery on the 4th day, the space had changed. The lighting, the use of space, the mountings, the colors reflected from myriad tiny forms, all seemed to call out quietly, to say, look. Brashope was sitting on the sofa in one corner, his hat tipped backwards. I shot a few pictures in black and white and in color. For some reason you looked and looked again as if called or in disbelief or recognition. You couldn't be neutral when confronted with these small pieces from the hands of Brashope. At the opening, the gallery was full. People stayed for a long time, walking about, speaking in quiet tones. The media commented that this was an unusual exhibition. It captivated people. It kept them involved. Some of his pieces you had to pick up and examine to know what they were. Some you had to hold up to the light. People didn't know what to say or how to react. They were forced to interact because of the smallness of these artifacts that somehow demanded a closer look. Brashope was saying something through this exhibition. He told me before we went to Maputo that I should always watch people's hands. Hands are never indifferent, he'd often say. They shape the world. They shape life. Oh, wow. I like that. Hands are never indifferent, he'd often say. They shape the world. They shape life. The way people use their hands defines their relationships with others. Nations express their intentions through their hands. Hands express a people's spirit. He wanted me to take as many pictures as possible as people picked up their artifacts, held them to the light, smelled them, showed the artifacts to each other. I watched. I focused my lens on their hands, male and female, fingers, fingernails, arms, capturing them all. This exhibition formed part of Mozambique's Independence Day celebrations in this city whose people had once rocked southern Africa. Such ululation there had been throughout Africa and its diaspora when Maputo became Maputo. Since then, the city had sunk and sunk, until one day there was a major plane crash in Buzini. What was that about? We wondered. How was it possible for a plane carrying a president to crash? But it had, and all these years later we were still asking why, and the silence was deafening. Brashope had discussed and pondered this with Dambuza and Olga, and raised many questions. South Africa must answer those questions, Brashope kept saying as we drove back to the hotel. Meanwhile, the city of Maputo was unfolding before us. A township, a rural village, a town, signs of a city. Crowds at bus stops, on stoops, at corners, walking, running, baggage in their hands, on their shoulders, on their heads. Cows and goats, poles, rubbish, broken vehicles and modern cars, scooters, bicycles and buses. Maputo with changed street names, long, wide streets that spoke Portuguese. A city abuzz with people selling every imaginable thing on corners and even in the middle of the street when the lights were red. Poor people on foot, dwarfed by buildings that once sought to reflect Portugal, Spain, Italy, standing beneath the African sun by day and the African moon by night. Long streets aflame with fires and braziers and the flicker of faded streetlights on tall street poles, casting long shadows in hasty flight, streets brimming with people and the blast of music. Maputo was no Portuguese city. It was a city on African soil, a city in lament, poor but culturally rich. It was a city of many languages, a Tsonga city that spoke to the Indian Ocean, a sweet and salty city that smelled of fruit and fish. We broke away from the varied faces of Maputo and drove up to the hotel. There we were saluted by the doorman with his dark black skin, funny hat and badges more colorful than the rainbow on the lapels of his coat. He flashed a white but expressionless smile. Brashope was part of the tapestry here. He'd brought his contribution to this city, and since he'd been on TV, everyone everywhere seemed to recognize and greet him. That's chapter 1 of Revelations. I like how Ntate Wally writes. Humunati, ne? Hey, chickenators. Hi, Jimmy. Hi, underscore reads. Hey. I need to remember everybody's first names. How are you guys? So I decided to read this because I've had this book for a long time, since 2011, imagine. And yeah, and Miss Weiner says I'm bringing out the big guns this week. I don't know what she's talking about, but yeah, this is Ntate Mongane Wally Serote's I think one of the 4-5 novels that he's written. I'm not sure because Wikipedia hasn't updated his novels because this isn't on Wikipedia. But hey Bowie. Nah. I get bored. Let me see who's here. Hi, everybody. Hi, Bookaholic Queen. Hey, SK. Graham, what's up? That paragraph about hands is amazing. It's fiction or non-fiction? Sorry. Oh, it's fiction. It's a work of fiction. I had read his profile, but from Wikipedia, because this one at the back of the book It's quite long, but it's not updated because it didn't include, this book was released in 2010. And he was inaugurated as the Poet Laureate in 2018 when Ntate Kgositsile passed on. So yes, I decided to read this book because I wanted to read his work after hearing Lebo Mashile speaking to the Cheeky Natives last week. So if you missed the discussion on the takeover with the Cheeky Natives, go onto the profile. It is loaded on the IGTV. So yeah, like I like his writing. Bye. Oh yes. Oh yeah. So Bowie says Bowie was saying the paragraph about hands is amazing. I actually liked the paragraph about two masters, where Brashope is talking about him and his former wife. Is it Tembile? Yeah, Metembile. Where it says, what did he say? We were both masters at the same time. When he was referring to him and his wife. I mean, there was no follower. Neither one could remain a follower forever. But why in a love relationship should one be a follower and the other master? It's about how the one who turns out to be the master handles the responsibility. Like, hey, that paragraph. Yeah, even that one with hands is beautiful, right? So there is a lot of poetry in here because obviously he is a poet. So, guys, get the book. I think, I don't know if you want me to read a bit more. Maybe I could read one of chapter 2, one paragraph or one page. Yeah. So now we've gotten into the characters that are in here. It's Utsile, Brashope, who's the artist, and Utsile is a photographer. And they are in Maputo, and some of the characters in here are Dampusa, so they've been hosted by Dampusa. And yeah, I love this description of Maputo and how everything happened after the president's death. Chapter 2 goes like this. Cities, these things we call cities, are the same the world over. Cement, tar, brick, iron, electricity, lights of red, blue, pink, white, and a sprinkling of sun, wind, trees, and flowers. Then streets, cars, people upon people, and all the merchandise they want and don't want. At times, they all seem to project the fragility of life. At other times, they make life itself shrivel. Window panes by the hundreds, many stories high, were twinkling against the morning light and the traffic lights. Millions of eyes goggling at the city, staring in wonder, screaming with joy at the sight of it until I, too, felt gazed at. I realized that I'd been walking a while and had hardly met or seen a single black face. What had the city and its people done with the blacks? Yet I couldn't say that these people were whites. They were nothing like that. Certainly some were so-called whites, but most were yellow or honey or brown. Yet there were no black people in the city. I became a bit apprehensive. I didn't know why. What would I do if I met a black person? I hadn't seen one, yet I hoped I'd find one somewhere here among these millions of people. They didn't look at me directly, I noticed. Here people looked at you by looking elsewhere, searching the empty space above your head. I looked them in the eye, Some smiled. Some were shy. Some giving me a what the fuck look. I saw it in their eyes, their frowns. We strode past each other, propelled by the buzz and roar and rattle and hoot of the city. We were all busy going about our own chores, each of us together, those of us who'd woken up that morning and set out onto the streets of Santiago. I'd never been here before. I'd always felt intrigued, suspicious, afraid and baffled about this country, this city. As a young African man, careful, watchful, and curious, I'd heard of this country, this city, of Elende and Lumumba. I began to walk faster now, a bit angry, a bit fearful. I watched eyes, faces, and I remembered the woman who'd been shot in front of me. Her face was so shocked, so afraid. Her eyes, staring and helpless, said no, no, no. Then her body took the impact as if beginning a terrible dance, a revelation. She threw her hands into the air, to the sky. Her bag flew off her shoulder and her dress flew about, her body jerking and jerking as the bullets made little red holes in her, revealing her white panties before she hit the ground. But that was far from Santiago. Why had I walked into the cathedral? I hadn't been to church for centuries, but I was feeling sad, wanting to cry. I knelt on the hardwood beside a man who was now getting ready to stand up and go. Our eyes met, even our pupils. Who the hell are you? I thought. I didn't know what he thought of me. His eyes were soft. He looked away quickly and stood up to go. Chile was a Catholic country, I'd been told. In my anger at this church, I had once asked an old priest if they still mass-produced virgins. Now as I knelt here, I thought, yes, the world needs thousands of virgins, a sure way to fight AIDS. Then I noticed all these elderly men entering the cathedral to kneel, make the sign of the cross, take a quick kiss at their thumb and leave. They were old men. They stood up, bowed, then walked out. Who were they? Where were they when Allende was besieged, bombed and shot? When there was a coup, when people began to disappear? Where were all these men and women then, who now come to pray? I didn't know why, but I felt contemptuous, angry, and also apprehensive. I stood up to go. Outside, I was hit by the sunlight and the buzz of the city. I don't know how to say this, but I must try. I saw a woman walk past me. Hell broke loose. She was dark, very dark, blue-black. She walked almost quickly, yet slowly, deliberately. I didn't see her face, but only her legs, strong as if made of steel, but gentle as a cloud in the ease with which they carried her. Then she disappeared. I was left with the image of her silky navy blue jacket, striped blouse, short maroon skirt and high sandals. I should have called to her, said or done something. She must have seen me from behind, maybe snatched a glimpse as she passed me. Before I could do anything, she was gone. Something told me she was very beautiful. But who was she? From where had she come? Is she asking herself where I come from? From South Africa, I replied, alone on that long, noisy street. I wanted to hold her, to embrace her, to look her in the eye and ask her to come and have coffee with me. She was so beautiful, I thought, strong, almost my own size. This lone black woman walking a Santiago street, slowly, firmly, giraffe-like, so aware of the world around her, walking as if to a drumbeat. A line from a history class long ago came to mind. African people had developed the drum and its use to the fullest. But I hated this thought. I didn't want the world to connect Africans only with drums. Hey, where did this lone black woman come from? She'd walked as if fleeing her own vulnerability, watchful, aware, her step quick as a bird preparing for flight, except that she was already moving. Where was she going on a San Diego morning, walking down the street like that? Who was she here with, and for what? Asking that question made me suddenly heave deep in my gut. I felt I was going to vomit. I was lost at sea, feeling the waves, large and angry. Slaves. Did Chile have slaves like Brazil? Yes, the Mapuche. Where are they now? Their spirits were in the skin, blood and marrow of the Chileans, who were not white at all. Here I was walking among them, Brashope and I as their guests, and they are hosts, the people of Chile. Had Brashope already realized this? He had the stealth of a cat. He seemed to sniff his way through his eyes, his frog-like eyes that could see 180 degrees. He would have been studying our hosts like that. Where had she gone, that black woman? Maybe, wherever she was wondering to herself about that black man. I'd never know. I was missing Teresa and her brown eyes that stare back in surprise. That blue black woman on the San Diego street had looked like Teresa, walked like Teresa. I would never tell Teresa about her. No, I must. I would. But what could I say of such a brief encounter with an unknown woman? Teresa liked to probe, and when she did, what would I say? That the damned cathedral was so overwhelming that its pillars made me feel like an ant, like a thing that on a Monday morning the Chileans go there to pray. Something here in San Diego reminded me of Maputo. What was it? The buildings? The people? There were no black people here. Perhaps it was the architecture or the language. Here also a president had died at the hands of his own citizens. The previous day I'd seen Mrs. Allende. The frail frame, the old face, and what was it? A strength, a will, a spirit with a will to live? Mrs. Allende was determined to live. I thought of Gracia. Even now, in the troubled times of the 20th century, presidents get killed. Who had killed Allende? Like Lumumba and Mashile, Allende was a dreamer. There were those who didn't like dreamers, who hated them. I wasn't very far, I realized, from Guyana. At Chris Honey's funeral, it was a photographer who told me that Guyana's president, Walter Rodney, had been a dreamer too. He'd wanted the ordinary people to govern Guyana. Press the red button on this walkie-talkie, they told him, and it'll connect you with us in the army. So Rodney had pressed the red button. His family buried only his head and possibly his legs. The rest were blown away. I didn't know why these broken pictures of history keep coming to mind. I was worried about Teresa. I must call her tonight. What time was it in South Africa? It was 8 a.m. now in San Diego. I had to get back to the hotel to see if Shope had woken. Sure. Okay, there is a lot of... I like this book. I don't know about you. I loved how it started. I loved how he grabbed the reader with that first sentence. Brashope told me that his ex-wife had left their home more than a dozen times before they parted forever. Revelations by Mongane Wally Serote. Ntate Mongane Wally Serote. Yeah. So, that is today's reading, guys. Hi, everybody that came afterwards. Hi, Zaida. Hi, Kirsten. Thanks for joining. Hi, Radi. So, that was Revelations. Ntate Serote's Revelations. And at the back of the book, one of the shout-outs are from the English Academy Review. It says Serote is arguably the most important poet of the apartheid era. Yeah, that was Revelations, guys. The writing and the history all show in this deeply considered, skillfully controlled, and often poetic novel of ideas. Yeah. Perhaps in our search for answers to the difficult questions Serote asks, we may figure out ways to transcend our long history of racial conflict and build a society free from its ghosts. Sure. I liked the observation, Utsile, when he noticed that he had never seen any black people when he was walking in Maputo. I don't know which part of Maputo were they, but yeah. Sure. I actually want to read this book now. Have any of you guys read anything by Ntate Serote? For those who want to leave, we are going to the Chicken Natives for 6 o'clock. I don't remember who's coming on today, but yeah, that's where we're going at after this while we cook, and we will be watching the Chicken Natives live. Oh, it's Grace. It's not Grace. Why am I saying it's Grace? Because now I'm looking at the guest that is coming to the Chicken Natives today at 6. I want to read this. Today is Thursday, 21st. Today is Siyakumalo. Simula says no, she hasn't read anything by Ntate Serote. Okay, so today's Chicken Natives Lockdown Takeover is with Siyakumalo, who is the author of You Have to Be Gay to Know God. So you can go on to @Chicken-Natives. They're gonna go live now at 6 o'clock. That was today's reading, guys. I'm actually enjoying Behold the Dreamers so much. I'm now like halfway, I think. Yeah, I'm halfway. And yeah, I took a nap earlier and I was reading this. I still feel like the stories, there are so many immigrant stories, and they are all so sure, guys. This book, you must get it. And Imbolo writes beautifully. Like, every time I'm like, wow, I wish I could write like that. I wish I could write anything for that matter. Okay, I do write posts and whatnot, but I wish I was an author, guys. So that was today's reading of the live book reads. Simula says no, she hasn't read it. Tomorrow we are reading. I might read something that I've had as well, which I went to a book launch of a few years ago. I know the book is based on a true story. Oh, okay. Okay, I didn't know that. See, I like a book that has history. I like a book that makes you want to reference and log on Google and like read up and go to the library and go search. This book is definitely that. There's a lot of politics. There's things that I didn't even know. Like the other country, which other country did he just describe now, talk about where another president was killed. But yeah, that was a bomb actually. Thank you, Jimmy, for that. I didn't know that. But yes, books are there to do that, to motivate for you to actually want to learn some more. Read other books, read other authors, read different books, read like different genres from what you like reading. This is what I'm trying to do for myself this year. Today I was reading a book that I bought, I think in 2009. I didn't write I know it was an online buy by Alice Walker. So I have a collection of Alice Walker's books. I don't know if you can see here at the back. I do have 2, 4, 5. Okay, so because I love the color purple, I'll always recommend the color purple. But I started collecting some of Alice Walker's work, and I have this Living by the Word, and I just love her writing. Like, even just like diary entries, because there's diary entries and there's essays and some poetry and guys, and it's simple writing but powerful. So maybe one day I'll read some Alice Walker, but I liked the idea of reading like local books. So that was the whole point as well, to get more people reading more local books. Because I just feel like, yes, all the stories are important, but our stories, #our stories. If you check that hashtag and Umpile reads, #Bookamoso reads, you'll see all the our stories that I love. But yes, this is some of the readings that I was going through today, besides Behold the Dreamers. But yes, guys, hello, how are you? So yeah, I just finished reading from Mongane Wally Serote's Revelations. This is a 2010 book. My copy is a second print. It was published by Jacana. I think I got it at no, it wasn't a sale. This was exclusive books. But yeah, years ago. So if you missed it, guys, you can watch this video will be up on IGTV in a few minutes. But yes, thank you guys for joining. See you guys on the other side with the Chicken Natives with Sia Kumalo. Bye. Thank you guys so much.